welcome back to my channel. We are digging into chapter 1 today in the Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. So let's get into it. I read the chapter and I got my notes, or I got my stickies of things to read out, and so let's get into it. Her childhood. From the very first moment she's born, she becomes attached to her first teacher, her mother. Her eyes study her mother constantly during the initial bonding process. She learns to smile and form other mutual communication techniques. She, as with any other cub, is taught survival skills: how to eat, dress, bathe, use the toilet, general manners and obedience, most implied by a look or spoken in a certain tone of voice. She is able to understand the language long before she can speak it. She never stops studying her mother, and she never stops learning from her. She overhears conversations that her mother has with her friends or relatives pertaining to the father. If all of the mother's comments are supportive and positive, good. But since the habit of gaming on the black man is a 400-year-old tradition here, the inflections are for the most part negative. She listens and she records. What she overhears as a small child may go something like this: "I don't care what your father said. I said. I've got to cook and clean up this house before your father gets home because I do not want to hear his mouth. Your father don't run this house. I do. He don't know what he's talking about. He don't know what I know. He don't know what he's doing. John makes me sick. I get tired of picking up behind him." If the father requests something, she may hear the mother say, "Get it yourself," or "Don't tell me what to do. I do what I want to do." Every mother is guilty of using these similar terminology about her husband when she is tired, exasperated, or angry during the girl child's upbringing. The training message from the mother, the teacher, is the black man don't know. Certain references to the black man are only made behind his back. A woman has the option to choose what she wants to obey. A man is a bother. The girl child, while too young to actually distinguish between truth and falsehood, watches how trusting and unaware the father is. Soon she concludes that the mother is right. He don't know, which must mean that he is dumb. On the other hand, if there is no biological father or stepfather on the premises whom the girl child can relate to and observe daily, the scenario may go something like this, especially if the single mother is periodically changing men or dating around. She may hear, "I'm gonna get that nigga tonight. I keep calling him every night, but he ain't home. Girl, don't believe nothing he says. He just lies all the time. I can't believe nothing he says. I'm gonna make him spend money on me. I gotta find me a man. I want to see what he can do. You can't let a man know all your business." The training message from the mother in this instance is: the black man is a liar. Don't believe in him. He'll disappoint you. The black man will desert you. No security. Withholding information is a necessary practice when dealing with a black man. And if you're going to deal with a black man, you have to have a plan. To the girl child, these impressions represent the pure truth from the person who takes care of her, her mother. In the two-parent home, the girl child has an easier time learning how to charm the father and get him to cooperate with her and grant her wishes. She adopts these skills to manipulate a person whom she already believes is not too swiftly mental. It's not too swift mentally, according to mom. She also learns the politics of female survival regarding chastisement. If the father tells her to do something or reprimands her, she finds that she can go to the mother and get the ruling changed or omitted completely. If the father becomes vocally angry with the mother, she may show her protectiveness by sending the girl child from the room or outside to play. If the father is rightfully angry, unbeknownst to the child, the mother may be extra nice to defer his attention from the issue to get his mind off of it. The father may be right, but the teaching message is, he's dangerous and wants to argue, but I'll protect you from him. This is something I have to endure, but you don't. He can be swayed with a little kindness and charm. He's our boss, but we don't like it because he's unfair. In addition to these negative impressions about the capabilities and inconsistencies of the black man, who's gone all the time anyway, the girl child is introduced to fairy tales as bedtime and storytime reading. Some of the stories are fantasy about the wonderful life white men and white women lead. They tell about how gallant the white man is and how he always saves the day for the white woman. The black mother thinks that fairy tales are harmless entertainment for her daughter and son and have no other intrinsic value to the development of the child. A new brain, not yet equipped with the psychological tools to filter or disseminate information, accepts any and all information it is programmed with as the truth. She carries these fantasies into the future and they govern many of her emotions and ideas. They become deeply rooted in her psyche and will override true information from other sources. She is not just looking at the cartoons, she is also listening to their dialogue and copies their responses. She is taught to love these artificial personalities. All of these toy, animals, and people are presented to her as good, and none of the first heroes, which she is taught to love and admire, are black. Other than possibly her girl baby dolls, she is not introduced to her own culture. Be aware that all of the misinformation imparted in this chapter is transmitted to the black female child, usually from the mother, by the time she is 5 years old. What a beginning. Wow. So, thinking about my own life, I didn't grow up with my father in the household, but even still, my mother, I never heard her bash my father. I never heard her say anything bad about my father. Anything negative about my father, I learned from him when I got older or of age. And that in our culture is considered to be like a unicorn, which it should be just the norm. It should be the standard. I could definitely see how that could be a lasting impression. Wow. The cartoons, I mean, we definitely grew up watching cartoons. Disney, that was my jam. Aladdin is my favorite Disney movie. But I never realized how being told about fairy tales or the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus and Mickey Mouse, how those could shape my perception or what I believe to be real love or a genuine connection. That's interesting. As far as like hearing the bad mouthing of my father, I can't relate to that because even my mom in her conversations as a child, I wasn't allowed to be around. They're like, get out of here. I'm on the phone. You know, back when house phones were a thing, I'm on the phone. Like, never. Because if I'm now reflecting on my childhood and how my mother raised me, she was a single mother. When I was a kid, I didn't think that I would be getting married or having a husband. That was never a thing. I think for me in my childhood, the way that that's manifested in maybe a negative way towards the black man and black families is I saw my mom hustle and be independent and be to herself. And I thought that is how life goes. Maybe I wouldn't have to grow up to have a husband. Although my mom has been remarried. I've seen my mom with a husband. It just wasn't my father. And I'm thinking about childhood when she says up to 5 years old or even up into my teenage years. My mom married my stepdad when I was 14. So up until in between that time, it was me and my mom for the most part. I mean, my father was still around, but I didn't grow up in a two-parent household in my childhood years. My teenage years, I would say I was in a more stable two-parent household. But in my childhood years, it was mostly just me and my mom. And so with that, I would say I got the impression that being an independent woman with no husband was the way to go. Did my mom tell me that's what I need to do? No. But as an observer, as a child observer, that's the messaging I got, that I don't have to get married. I could live a life without a husband. And as I'm getting older and coming to the realization of what it means to be alive and carry a legacy and have a life, that's not true. And like I said, my mom never gave me that messaging. That's just what I saw growing up. And then, like the book was saying, the couples, the households you always saw together in stories and fairy tales, they were always white. So I didn't know if back then, as a child, if I've been thinking that this does not happen for Black people, but it definitely wasn't a thing we saw all the time. I think the first time we saw a Black family being together in a child setting would be like Little Bill or the Proud Family, as far as cartoons go. So yeah, that's interesting. What are you guys' thoughts? What do you guys think about this chapter, specifically childhood, having the mother be the teacher and molding a child and her impressions of what she thinks she can do or manipulate or talk to or respect a man based off of how she's reared from her childhood, from her mother being her first teacher. Like, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Do you agree that the mother is the first teacher? Is it the mother's responsibility to rear children? I think so. I think that's the way we were wired. Let's digest that chapter. Let's talk about it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. And I will see you guys for the next chapter, which is teenage years. Ooh. All right. Bye.